This service has no announcements. It has no benediction. It ends in the dark, like it must. We gather not to explain this day, but to witness to it, to stand at the edge of it and let it be what it is. The day God entered our deepest darkness and did not look away. There is no music this evening. What we offer instead is attention and silence and our own willingness to remain.
Let's listen to the word of the Lord spoken by the prophet Isaiah. This part is called the Lord's suffering servant. See, my servant shall prosper. He shall be exalted and lifted up, and shall be very high. Just as there were many who were astonished at him, so marred was his appearance beyond human semblance, and his form beyond that of mortals. So he shall startle many nations. Kings shall shut their mouths because of him. For that which had not been told them, they shall see, and that which they had not heard, they shall contemplate. Who has believed what we have heard? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from whom others hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account. Surely he has borne our infirmities and carried our diseases, yet we accounted him stricken, struck down by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have all turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By a perversion of justice, he was taken away. Who could have imagined his future? For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken for the transgression of my people. They made his grave with the wicked and his tomb with the rich, although he had done no violence and there was no deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him with affliction. When you make his life an offering for sin, he shall see his offspring and shall prolong his days. Through him, the will of the Lord shall prosper. Out of his anguish, he shall see. He shall find satisfaction through his knowledge. The righteous one, my servant, shall make many righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will allot him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out himself to death and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. May God add his blessing to the reading of the scripture.
This poem was written 7 centuries before the crucifixion. Isaiah did not know Jesus. He did not see Golgotha. He was speaking into a darkness he could not fully name, about a servant who would bear what the people could not carry, who would be silenced and broken and buried, and through whom something unexpected would be made whole. The early church read this poem and said, "We know this person." We read it tonight and ask ourselves, do we? We will now move through 5 stations of the Passion. Each station is a portion of John's Gospel. There will be no music to accompany it. There is silence. We invite you to receive each moment without rushing towards the next. If the readings move you to weep, weep. If the readings cause uncertainty, sit with it. The night does not ask for answers. It simply asks for presence.
This reading is from the book of John, chapter 18, verses 1 through 11. After Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples across the Kidron Valley to a place where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place because Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas brought a detachment of soldiers together with police from the chief priests and the Pharisees, and they came there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that was about to happen to him, came forward and asked them, "Whom are you looking for?" They answered, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus replied, "I am he." Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When Jesus said to them, "I am he," they stepped back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, "Whom are you looking for?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. So if you are looking for me, let these people go." This was to fulfill the word that he had spoken. "I did not lose a single one of those whom you gave me." Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it, struck the high priest's slave, cutting off his right ear. The slave's name was Malchus. Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back into its sheath. Am I not to drink the cup that the Father has given me?" He crossed the Kidron Valley in the dark, through the wadi, through the dust, into the garden. He knows what is coming. He has known for some time, and he walks toward it with his eyes open. When the soldiers come with their lanterns and their torches and their weapons, with all the machinery of the state power, Jesus steps forward and asks them for a question. "Whom are you looking for?" "I am he," and they fall to the ground. Even in arrest, he is the one in control of what is given. He is not taken. He gives himself. This is how he always loved.
After he had said this, he went out to the Jews again and told them, "I find no case against him, but you have a custom that I release someone for you at the Passover. Do you want me to release for you the King of the Jews?" Pilate asks the most important question of his life, and walks away before the answer can speak. What is truth? He has truth standing in front of him, silent, unhurried, unafraid. But he is a man of the world, accustomed to power and transaction. And truth that does not defend itself does not compute. He finds no case against Jesus. He says so, and then he offers the crowd a choice. The crowd chooses Barabbas. This is how the world works. It prefers the manageable violence it knows to the dangerous, inconvenient love it doesn't. It prefers release on its own terms to the kind of release that asks something of it.
From John 19, verse 16 through 22. So they took Jesus, and carrying the cross by himself, he went out to what is called the place of the skull, which in Hebrew is called Golgotha. There they crucified him with two others, one on either side, with Jesus between them. Pilate also had an inscription written and put on the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this inscription because the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and it was written in Hebrew, in Latin, and Greek. Then the chief priest of the Jews said to Pilate, "Do not write, the King of the Jews." But this man said, "I am the King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." He carries his own cross. John tells us there is no Simon of Cyrene to help. Jesus carries it himself all the way to the place of the skull. This is John's theological point. He goes under his own power, giving himself, not being dragged. Above him, Pilate nails a sign in three languages: the language of religion, the language of the empire, and the language of commerce. Three tongues for the whole world to read. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. The chief priests wanted it changed. Pilate refused. What is written is written. Even the empire, in its small and accidental way, names the truth. Even the cross, intended as defeat, becomes an announcement. The wood that should have silenced him becomes the billboard of his reign.
When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each soldier. They also took his tunic. Now the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. So they said to one another, "Let us not tear it, but cast lots for it to see who will get it." This was to fulfill what the scripture says. They divided my clothes among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots. And that is what the soldiers did. Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his own home. While soldiers divided his garments below, the women remained above. His mother, his mother's sister, Mary Magdalene, and the beloved disciple. They were not hiding. They were standing near. Presents as the only gift left to give. Jesus, hanging between earth and sky, looks down and sees them. And from the cross, he makes something. "Woman, here is your son. Here is your mother." He is forming a new family, not of blood, but of love and witness and shared grief. He is making sure that when this is over, no one will be left alone. Even in the act of dying, he is still giving, still making something out of what is broken, still breathing life into what could only have become dissolution.
John 19, 28 through 30. After this, when Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said, in order to fulfill the scripture, "I am thirsty." A jar full of sour wine was standing there. So they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth. When Jesus had received the wine, he said, "It is finished." And he bowed his head, and he gave up his spirit. I am thirsty. The one who offered living water at Jacob's well, who said, "Whoever drinks of this water will never be thirsty again," now thirsts. He's given everything. He has nothing left to pour out. They lift the sponge soaked in sour wine to his lips. A final communion. The last taste of this world. And then, tetelestai. It is finished. Not abandoned, not defeated, not undone. Completed. The Greek word carries the weight of a task brought to its end, a debt paid in full, a work accomplished. This is not the cry of a man who is lost. This is the word of a craftsman setting down his tools. He bowed his head, and he gave up his spirit. He gave up his pneuma, the breath that had moved through all of creation, breathed into the dust of Adam, exhaled now on the cross, released, given away. From dust to breath, from breath to dust. And we wait, because we know that this is not the last word about breath. But tonight, we do not rush to wait. We do not rush forward to what comes next. Tonight, we sit. We bear the weight of what has happened and what has come. We let it be what it is. It is finished. Go home through the dark. We will gather together again, but not yet.